So you filed your PTSD claim and now you have a C&P exam. Let's get you all prepped up for that. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, today we're going to talk about PTSD exams, the C&P exam for PTSD. And we're also going to walk through pieces of the DBQ. This is very important. So first thing first, I've been there. I know all about what this entails firsthand. So I'm talking from just my experience here. I am not a licensed agent. I'm not, a VSO. I'm none of that stuff. But I've been through this and I've done it semi-successfully the first time and more successfully the second time. So I just kind of want to share that information with you. Hey, before we get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. All three of these things, watch the video all the way through. All four of those things really help get the word out to others who really may benefit from this information. If you benefit from this information, please comment below. I love to have conversations and hear about, your experiences as well. So let's dive right into it. I have a DBQ down here on my tablet. So I will be doing this number here every once in a while so that I can read it, because I'm not that high tech enough to put stuff up on the sides and behind me. And I don't know how to put a camera up. That's just not me. So let's talk about the PTSD C&P exam. So you filed a claim for PTSD and you put down all your symptoms and you built your buddy statements and you put your evidence together, you built your nexus, you have your medical records, you put all that in, bam, you're scheduled for a C&P exam. I'm going to give you some just friendly advice for that C&P exam. And then we're going to jump into the DBQ, because the DBQ won't take us very long. Just want to point out a few things on it. So when you walk in the door to a PTSD exam, you're going in for a mental health exam. What that means is, from the minute you get out of your car in that parking lot, you could be observed until the time you are done with your C&P, back in your car and driven away, or rode your bike away, or took the bus, or took a cab or Uber, whatever. Okay. So when you walk into any mental health exam, my friendly advice is to be honest about how you're doing, because they're going to ask you, how are you today? A lot of people say, hey, just be flat out honest. If you're having a great day, tell them you're having a great day. That can jeopardize a PTSD claim and any other mental health claim in a heartbeat. Please, I implore you, don't do that, okay? When you walk in, they say, how are you doing today? Well, today's been okay so far. I have good days, I have bad days, but today's okay so far. I think that's a valid answer. Unless you woke up and yesterday you hit the lottery and I'm wondering why you're at your C&P exam. If you hit the lottery and you're doing great, tell them you're doing great. I mean, it's your claim, right? But I remember the first time that I went to my initial PTSD exam, they asked, how are you today? And I went, I'm fine. And then I just moved on. And I went through the exam and we talked through all of my background, military history. When did this start? What happened then? How does it affect your daily life? All that stuff. At the end of the day, I had gotten a rating that was so much lower than what I expected that it was almost disappointing, right? So I sat down, I did my research. I went to YouTube, I looked up some of these other folks that do these videos as well. And I was like, dang, I missed an opportunity, quite honestly. And I'm a very honest person. So when I walk in and somebody says, how are you today? I have to be completely honest with them. But saying you're doing great is wonderful for that 1 minute. It's not wonderful for how's the entire week going? How has the last month been of your life? How are you today means, hey, it's 9:30 in the morning or 2:30 in the afternoon, and you're not at work. You're here doing that C&P exam. How are you today? Okay, well, today I'm doing okay so far, but life has its ups and downs. That's my answer. Next thing is that you're going to be judged on your posture, your eye contact, your all of those little things that we forget about, right? If you're having to think about or remember things about PTSD, that's understandable, okay? I have a hard time expressing the things that happened that caused me to have the flare up and all the bad symptoms that I have still to this day for PTSD. So I get it. It's hard to do, but come prepared. And what I mean by come prepared is, you know, the C&P examiner will ask, tell me a little bit of family. Okay, well, blah, blah, blah. I'm married. I have 2 kids. I have a grandkid on the way or whatever, right? Or, hey, I'm single. I just got out of the military. Can't hold on to a girlfriend. Can't hold on to a boyfriend. Can't figure out what I'm doing. All of that comes into play. They'll ask, tell me about your work life. Well, I've been doing, this type of work, but I can't hold a job down, or I've done this type of work and I've gotten a long ways, but I'm being held back because of this one aspect of my life that I can't get past. So it's really important to put all that together, right? And then they'll say, tell me about your PTSD. And where I want you to start when you're asked that question is prior to going into the service. And the reason I say that is because you have to establish who you were before the service, who you were in the service, and who you are after the service. It's very important to do this at a mental health exam, any mental health exam. We're just going to focus on PTSD. Before the service, I really enjoyed hanging out with my friends. I was involved with my family stuff. I went to church. I did this. I did that. I was, exercising. I was surfing. I was skateboarding. I was riding my bike, whatever. Then I joined the service and I thought, man, we're going to have this great adventure. We're going to do this awesome stuff. This is really cool. And then the event happened, whatever the event may be that triggered, what will end up being your PTSD. So then in 1996, I had a former, commanding officer who died in a training accident. And that commanding officer had really taken a chance with me at one point while in the service. And he really, guided me and mentored me. So when he passed, it really shook me up. Or while I was in 1998 or 2000 or 2014 or whatever, I was in Iraq, I was in Afghanistan, I was in Syria, and X happened. I was aboard a ship and X happened. I was, in a helicopter and X happened. Spell out what happened. Since then, I have been struggling to fill in the blanks, right? Since then, I have struggled to get on an aircraft. I break out in sweats. I start getting hyper focused and I can't sit still. I'm fidgety. I break into, I almost break into hives. I almost jump up and leave and say, forget it. Can't get on that airplane. It's going to crash. Whatever the thing is, right? One of the big ones I know that's out there that I feel like a lot of modern global war on terror, the GWAT veterans out there, is sitting in traffic gets to you. I completely understand. Sitting in traffic, it feels like you're trapped. It feels like there's going to be, something bad's going to happen. I don't want to go into specifics, but those of you who are there know exactly what I'm talking about. So think about all those things. And then after that, when I got out of the service, I continued to have these fears, but wrote it off and didn't address it. Or I went and I sought out treatment. I did this, I did that. Make sure you line up before service, during service, after service, after service, after service, after service, after service. Tell them what your symptoms are. Are you having trouble holding a job? Are you having trouble holding down relationships? Are you having trouble at home? Are you, making friends and then losing friends? Are you unable to make friends? Are you suicidal? Are you, there's all kinds of things that go into this. And I think you really need to spell out what it is, okay? What those symptoms are. Then they're going to follow up with some other questions. They're going to ask you to dig deeper. They may, they may probe on you a little bit. And while they're doing this, if you're an emotional person and it gets too emotional for you, break down. Just be who you are. Be completely transparent, or this is not going to work for you. I promise it's just not going to work for you. It's just like if you go into therapy. When you go into therapy, if you don't do the work, if you don't apply yourself, if you don't do the hard thing, it's not going to get better for you. It's not going to get easier to handle for you. I've been in therapy multiple times for PTSD, and PTSD does not go away. I still have it. It's still 100% pure right there, right? But I have some tools that help me get by here and there, but it still affects my everyday life. I can't get out of it, right? It's going to be there forever. It's a matter of adapting to it. So be prepared for all those questions. Now let's talk about the DBQ. Number one, you have to have a diagnosis. All right. It's going to ask you, are you diagnosed with PTSD? If you say no, I don't have a current diagnosis, you're not doing yourself any favors. So how do you get a diagnosis? Go see a VA counselor. Go see your VA primary care doctor. Tell them you need to meet with mental health. Go get help. If you don't have VA healthcare yet, or you don't want to go to the VA for PTSD, then you go to a private therapist and you get a diagnosis for PTSD, for any, depression, anxiety, PTSD, get the whole gamut if you can. All right. You write all that stuff down, and then, they're going to look into your records and see what your ICD codes are. I covered that in a video last year sometime. That diagnostic code is very important, but here we go. Okay. Do you have more than one mental disorder diagnosed? Again, anxiety, depression, PTSD, that's 3. That would be a yes. Is it possible to differentiate what symptoms is or are attributable to each diagnosis? Like the anxiety one. The anxiety one, hypervigilance, sweating, fidgety, all of that gets anxiety. Depression means inability to move, inability to make friends, inability to enjoy things, inability to smile, or have an emotion, right? PTSD, what triggers it? It is triggered by something. So you got to get all those, right? They list out those symptoms. They'll ask you if you have a TBI. If you are diagnosed with a TBI, they'll go deeper into your TBI and talk about that. Next thing is occupational and social impairment. This is really important. Which of the following best summarizes the veteran's level of occupational and social impairment with regards to all mental diagnoses? No mental disorder, a mental condition that's been formally diagnosed but symptoms aren't severe enough to either interfere with occupation or social functioning or to require continuous medications. Next is occupational and social impairment due to mild and transient symptoms. Next is occupational and social impairment with occasional decreases in work efficiency and intermittent periods of inability to perform operational tasks, although generally functioning satisfactorily with normal routine behavior, self-care, and conversation. Next one is occupational and social impairment with reduced reliability and productivity. If you are unable to go out with your friends, you're unable to go do things with your family, you cannot mentally get yourself out of that bed or out of that funk, or it's interrupting with your work and you're not able to work because of your PTSD, that becomes severe impairment. And then they have occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas. If you are compounded, you have deficiencies in work, school, family relations, judgment, thinking, mood, horrible thoughts about what you want to do to yourself. All those things come into play big time. And the last one, and most people will not qualify for this, is total occupational and social impairment. Unless you're locked up in a basement, you can hardly get out. You've had to do telehealth to get on to get on with a therapist, etc. That is real heavy duty stuff, and that will need to be taken into consideration. Okay, and then they ask if you can differentiate the different symptoms between the different deals. And then they'll look through your records and they will make a decision, right? The diagnostic criteria that the C&P examiner will use is it's 3 criteria. Well, it's 5, 6, 7, it's like 8 criteria. It's a bunch of criteria, right? Criteria A is the exposure to actual or threatened by death, serious injury, sexual violation in one or more ways of the following: directly experiencing the traumatic event, witnessing in person the traumatic event, learning that it occurred to a close family member or close friend, and then no criterion met. You've got to meet some of these criteria, okay? B, presence of one or more of the following intrusion symptoms, like recurrent, involuntary, and intrusive distressing memories, distressing dreams, dissociative reactions, which are flashbacks, intense or prolonged psychological distress, marked physiological reactions that symbolize or resemble an aspect of the traumatic event, or no criteria met, right? So this goes on. There's several things that you have to go through in here and take a look at. I highly recommend that you review the DBQ. Here's how you get to the DBQ. I'm going to put a link in the description below. Also, Google VA PTSD DBQ. Hit search. First one that comes up is going to be the VA link to get the PDF. Download it, look at it, understand it before you go into your C&P exam. Very, very important for you. All right. So after that, they're going to go through and they're going to look at all your different symptoms. They're going to mark off all the symptoms that they saw or they heard or that you expressed to them. And then they're going to turn in their report to the VA. And then the VA is going to drag their feet for months to get you a decision. And I say that only half-heartedly, quite honestly. I don't know that they drag their feet, but they sure as crap are not efficient. So there you have it. The PTSD, C&P exam, and DBQ wrap up here. Again, if you like this video, please like, comment, share, and then consider subscribing. If you want to become a member, please do. I don't really have many member benefits except for the fact that you'll be helping this guy keep doing these videos. Thanks, everybody. Take care of each other.